Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, joined on this fine, not at all chaotic Sunday by Harrison Fagan. You know, Harrison, you know how bad things have to be for you to be doing a show with me on a Sunday?
Well, bad. I don't know. I mean, you know,
is that another word?
Yeah,
for
busy.
It?
I think is the. I guess bad for you personally, because you have to work. So
yeah. Well, I'd be working anyway. Like I prefer this to like me just talking into
this is a much more fun show to record than, you know, I don't know. Is Dorian Finney-Smith going to opt in or not? We aren't sure. He might be bringing it right down to the deadline. It's the decision everyone is talking about in Lakerland. You know,
for some reason, Spotrac had his decision needing to be made on tomorrow, and for some reason, I didn't even gather. There was like, why would his decision need to come after free agency officially starts tomorrow evening? But anyway, today on the show, we're going to be talking about LeBron opting in and saying he is doing so to give himself the best chance at winning a championship. Opting into $53 million against the cap is his best chance at winning a championship.
Winning the championship
also,
life. You know,
he also, Harrison, like not so subtly, because LeBron doesn't really do subtlety. Not so subtly soft launched a trade request. Like, just
so are you telling me that the guy who posted a photo of himself looking down sad, you know, after like a loss and was like, maybe it's me, you know, not subtle about letting it be known what he wants or how he's feeling?
No, remember, it wasn't about like that like maybe it's me thing wasn't about losing in the finals or losing a playoff game. Remember, that was when they didn't trade for Kyrie.
Oh God, you're right. That was during the Lakers era. I was thinking of the fit in or fit out tweet.
The fit in, fit out one. Yeah.
Or
no, that was the time
with the Cavs. He had a sad mirror selfie at one point.
Yeah, that was to Kevin Love, because Kevin Love like hadn't quite figured out how to be the third best player on that team yet, or second.
Yeah, maybe
best.
Instead of fitting out, you should fit in. And then now I love that he's like commodified that to be like, when Luka gets here, he's like, no, well, but you're at the level where you need to fit out. Don't fit in. You know, you're good.
Yeah.
Kevin Love,
fit in.
Not good enough. Kevin Love needs to fit in.
Yeah. But anyway, so we'll talk about the LeBron news, him opting into his contract and the implications thereof. And also I'll give you guys the little bit of kind of background information that I have on that situation between LeBron, Clutch, and the Lakers. We also had Dorian Finney-Smith opt out, and his agent is working his ass off to make it known to everybody within arm's reach of a phone and Twitter. That just so you know, there are teams that are interested. Just so you know. So we'll talk about Dorian's situation. Also talk about the trade market, as LeBron has now officially put Rob Pelinka's feet to the fire in one way or another. And loaded show. Harrison, how's your weekend going? Are you holding up? Like, are you?
You know, it's the calm before the storm. I mean, I guess the storm started this morning, but until today, it was the calm before the storm. It was a fairly relaxing Saturday. Nothing too crazy. So yeah, I'm excited to get for the madness this week.
Yeah,
especially now that I don't have to blog Saturday. Like 5 times a day about it. You know, it's always more fun.
I took the kids to the pool last night, like in the evening, just kind of hung out, waited, by the phone just to not by the phone, but I left my phone up on the table because I figured, okay, this is my last day where I get to be a decent dad for a little bit. And then, this week is going to happen. and Vegas is going to happen, and we are in the thick of it. We'll start.
Miles, I can't get you a string cheese right now. Dorian Finney-Smith's agent is on the phone.
Make your own mac and cheese. No, don't make your own mac and cheese.
No, do not do that. Do not turn off the stove.
All right, let's go ahead and read some of these quotes here from Shams Charania of ESPN as he broke the news that LeBron would be opting in. Quote, LeBron wants to compete for a championship. This is the first quote of that piece here.
Wait, isn't this from Rich Paul, not Shams?
Rich talked to this is the quotes that Rich gave Shams. But I find it interesting. This is the first quote of the article, right? LeBron wants to compete for a championship, Paul told ESPN. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers a critical part of his career. He continues, we understand the difficulty in winning now.
Critical part. Hard not to read that as a past tense. I'm just going to say.
Yeah. He continues, though, we understand the difficulty in winning now while preparing for the future. We do want to evaluate what's best for LeBron at this stage of his life and career. He wants to make every season he has left count, and the Lakers understand that, are supportive, and want what's best for him. You're right about
they're supportive of it. Just take our word for it. It's they're good with this. It's
the part of this the part of this that I can't help but laugh at is how young does LeBron think Luka is?
My favorite part of this is we understand that they're building for the future.
Yeah.
When it's LeBron, I'm so sorry that they could not get you to take a pay cut for a level of player like Jonas Valanciunas or something like that. They were unfortunately only able to add Luka. And I understand why that's not enough to compete for titles at this stage of your career.
Look, I promise we'll eventually get into the nuances of the article and I think the crux of the issue here, but you can't sit here and say, yeah, I just don't feel like I have the best chance at winning a championship on a team with Luka Doncic.
And also, I mean, again, LeBron has earned his money. I actually he opted in today, and I actually I had a whole riff that I was going to do on the show today about a rant just about how LeBron, you can make yourself a legend forever in Los Angeles and have fans. This is the way that you become sort of that guy to Lakers fans where they are going to remember and worship you long after you retire. And it's by taking the minimum or taking some gigantic pay cut to say, hey, no, I'm all in. We are all in on winning, and I'm going to get as much fan goodwill as possible. And he, understandably, if I was presented with $52.6 million, I would probably take that as well. So yeah. I can't even really begrudge him for it. But it is interesting when he's we're all trying to find the guy who made it so that the Lakers can't make any real moves in free agency, So I don't know. I think I got to take my $52 million to South Beach or wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, we'll talk about teams and stuff in a second. I think there's a bunch of stuff going on at the same time. And I think we have to backtrack a little bit to explain how we arrive here. First off, I don't think he and Clutch ever got over the way that Rob and the Lakers threw him and AD under the bus for the Russell Westbrook transaction.
To be honest, they shouldn't have. I mean, it was pretty blatant.
It'd be one thing if the Lakers just didn't acknowledge rumors or they didn't do anything to dispel rumors that it was LeBron and AD forcing their hand. But they actively leaked information that would indicate.
Made sure that everybody knew. It's hey, these two guys forced us to trade for Russ. When really, Rob, I was hearing for months that Rob wanted Russ and that he was somebody on the Lakers' radar. And again, I'm not saying that LeBron and AD did not also want it and didn't maybe push it over the finish line by making that choice. But the way that Rob washed his hands of that would not have sat right with me either. And so I could understand them holding a grudge over that.
I wanted to start there because people are already thinking that we're just dumping on LeBron here. I'm really not. he signed a contract with a player option. He can totally opt into that player option. It's completely of his own
willingly
ability to
gave
do
him
so.
that player option, just like they did
Yeah.
last year with those veteran minimum ones that they couldn't move.
Rob being bitten by a player option? No way.
Yeah. In this case, I will say it's not bitten. You know, there are worse scenarios than, hey, we have LeBron under contract for $52 million.
Well, so anyway, I wanted to start there because that was like the fraying moment. That was the moment like that. That's kind of, the decision that, you watch a movie and once this thing happens, it sets everybody on, a crash course for whatever happens to them for the rest of the movie, right? Like the moment I'm thinking about is Titanic. The boat hits the iceberg and it's like people that was the moment where the boat hit the iceberg.
It's like when you're mean to the guy that's about to get superpowers, like that is sort of, they Rob like knocked Electro's like cafeteria lunch out of his hand right before he had an electrical accident,
Yeah. Right. So that was like the starting point of it. And from there on out, I just don't think LeBron and Clutch had too much trust in the Lakers, and I don't think the Lakers have all that much trust in Clutch and Lebron. And so like you fast forward to now with this decision that they have, and it was funny, Harrison, the number of conversations I had where like it was not saying that Clutch was saying this directly, but I'm just saying, the whispers that I was hearing was, yeah, Clutch doesn't think that the Lakers are going to give him, 50-ish million bucks if he wants it, or the no trade clause if he wants it. And I always thought that's not how the Lakers have operated ever. They've always just kind of abided what the superstar wants at the end of the, literally with Kobe, right? The Kobe contract was something that he and Rob Pelinka said after the fact. They didn't think that they were going to get that contract. They thought that negotiation was going to be a lot more contentious. They walked in, that contract is sitting there waiting for him, and then they walked out.
Yeah, I was going to say, what negotiation?
It wasn't. It was
exactly.
2 year, $48 million bucks. So, but like it was the number of times I heard over this last week or so how often, people closer to LeBron's side of this discussion were like, yeah, we don't really know. And the people I was talking to closer to the Lakers on the side of this were like, I don't know where you would get that from. That's not how we've operated ever. It turns out, Harrison, that's exactly what happened. Is that like they didn't feel, or they thought that if they opted out, whether it was the Lakers directly telling them this, or they just thought that they couldn't trust the Lakers to land on a contract that would, they were comfortable with. And they just said, you know what? I'm going to avoid that headache. And I'm also going to, for the first time, Harrison, this is the first time where LeBron is using him potentially leaving or being or asking to be traded to apply direct pressure to the Lakers to make the improvements to the roster that he's expecting. This is the first time that I can ever recall it being this direct.
I actually disagree because I think so. Number one, you and I talked, I think it was either last week or the week before on this show about, I don't understand why LeBron is opting into his player option. Like the Lakers always just give stars whatever they want. And so I would be surprised if, like, why is he not tacking an extra year on? And I think we just figured out the reason. It's that he did not think that he would be given that no trade clause again if he were to opt out, or that he would be given whatever contract he wanted. There was something that he did not feel like the Lakers were going to acquiesce to. And so he said, I'm going to lock in on this contract. And this way I have the no trade clause and I can leverage my way to the destination of my choosing. And I think that, like, where I disagree with you is I don't think this is LeBron saying, hey, you better make some upgrades to the roster, because what upgrades can they make to the roster? Like, who are they going to sign in free agency for the mid-level that LeBron's going to be like, you know what? I am all in on this season. Does that player exist? I don't think so. And so to me, This is LeBron the man who would not pay for Spotify Premium, trying to launch a trade demand without getting fined for a trade demand, and trying to make it amicable for both sides on the way out, so the Lakers can maintain their reputation of, we take care of stars, we do right by them. You know, LeBron felt like his best opportunity was to go compete elsewhere. We got him where he wanted to go, and for the Lakers, you get something back. You know, LeBron gets to go where he wants to go, and the Lakers get something back for him instead of losing him for nothing in retirement, which is something that you've talked about could be a potential silver lining of all this.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that here in a bit, but I want to continue to just like, you know, make sure arriving here, because like it is kind of crazy that like in a summer where, so for example, I was kind of going through scenarios here. And if the Lakers re-signed Dorian Finney-Smith to like a 3-year, $39-ish million contract, you know, between $36-39 million, and then they use their full taxpayer mid-level exception, they're right up against the first apron. Now, they aren't hard capped at the first apron. They can exceed the first apron. I personally, you know, think it might make some sense to go into the season below the first apron, and then if you have to cross that threshold at some point over the course of the season, whether with a buyout or something like that, then you cross that bridge when you get there. But you know, for the Lakers, they're kind of faced with, okay, if we re-sign Dorian Finney-Smith, and if we use the taxpayer mid-level exception, and we fill out the rest of our roster, we are right up against it. And I think if this relationship between the Lakers and LeBron, or the Lakers and LeBron and Clutch, were in a better spot, we would have seen what we saw this the last offseason take place again, where he took, you know, a few $100,000 less or $1 million or so less, so that the Lakers would avoid entering the season above the second apron. And the other part of this too, I have pretty much existed solely on the plane of like not that people lied to us about knowing about the Luka trade, but I think more people knew about the Luka trade than was let on.
But
let's just say that you know that people didn't know about it, and that let's put yourself in LeBron's shoes, and in this scenario, if we're to take him at his word that he didn't know about it, in this scenario, your best friend on this team was just traded without warning, you know, albeit for Luka Doncic, albeit for a really good player, all that stuff that can still be pointed out. But just like he joked about, you know, last year in that press conference where he was like, I'm not going to say anything about not wanting to play center, because the last time somebody did that, they now play in Dallas, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I still mostly believe,
again, he was kidding, but also not subtle.
Yeah, right. But like that, I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is because, again, I think, you know, when you look at the Russell Westbrook situation, you look at the years since where, like, I'll just say it. I've been saying it for years. Rob and Jeannie basically gave up on the LeBron AD era. And Jeannie basically said it after the Luka trade. They were like, yeah, we're just kind of we were going to keep our powder dry and see how we could recover after Luka or after LeBron and AD. That's not a front office I would trust all that much.
It's such a funny thing to admit was their mindset after they had just given AD like a 5-year extension too.
Right. Yeah.
We're like, we were just going to let it peter out, you know. It's but then we got an opportunity to trade for a real star, and so we did it, and now we're back, baby.
Right. And so, like, if you combine all of that stuff together, you arrive at a place here where I understand LeBron not necessarily trusting this Lakers front office, and I don't think Rob is very trustworthy anyway. But like,
I was going to say, you laid out a lot of context that I don't think that anyone needed for why Rob is not that trustworthy. Like,
that's fair. But I want to explain, because like
his entire brand is being the not trustworthy guy. You know,
true.
like I think.
Hold on, I got Heath Ledger on the other line. Let me get back to this point here.
Exactly, like his whole thing is lying. Like it's.
No, that's fair. But like, because I don't know if you've noticed it.
So for all these reasons, LeBron did not feel like he could trust this man who is mostly known as a liar.
Yeah, I don't know. The reason I say all of this, and I'm trying to explain this from LeBron's perspective, is because like I've noticed a lot on Twitter of people basically saying like, finally, all right, fuck this guy, get him out of here. And it's like, I
somebody just
think
said about time.
Yeah, like I kind of feel like we should try to at least understand where he might be coming from here. And also, by the way, he's asking for the thing that we all want. He's annoyed with the thing that we have been annoyed about for the last few years, in that the Lakers haven't actually been competing for a championship. And he doesn't trust this front office to be able to do what's necessary or be interested in doing what's necessary to compete for a championship while he and Luke are on the same team. I have those concerns too. Like here's an example, Harrison.
He saw
the
statement that the sale isn't closing till Q4, and he's like, I'm out. I can't do this again.
But like, well, think about it like this also. Well, it was funny actually when you mentioned that, because they're like, the immediate report was how like LeBron and Luka were both really excited, and then they both were like, Q3, Q4, fuck. But anyway, but
it's like, so you're telling, he's like, so no shooting coach still.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Still mid-season. We're gonna hire one mid-season. No, Cleveland. Get me to Cleveland.
You guys are still sharing synergy accounts, huh? All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the other part of this too. So one of the things that I was kind of like joking with somebody about was because we had that, I reported that the Lakers and Heat were in talks on a Wiggins trade. And by the way, to be clear with everybody, I never said it was close. I said that it had escalated from, hey, Wiggins available, huh? You know, and it had taken that next step to where they're talking about potential names and stuff. Agents weren't notified. And obviously no trade has come close since. And the reason that those trades stalled out was because Miami was adamant that they wanted a first rounder on top of Rui Hachimura and on top of even potentially Dalton Connect. There's some talk that maybe like it was Connect or like Miami really wanted Gay back or whatever, but still they wanted to receive the younger player. They wanted the younger player on a better contract, and they wanted a first rounder on top of that. And the Lakers were like, no, we're good.
I'm so sorry. Just you saying that they would be happy to have Gabe back is very funny, because they're like, yeah, we can get an all-star back. And you know,
yeah. But so like, I did wonder at one point today, I wonder to what extent LeBron, you know, like another example of this, I didn't report specifics on this Portland conversation yet, but the Lakers in Portland were in talks on a Time Lord deal. And the hurdle to that one is Portland wanting Dalton and the Lakers not wanting to include Dalton in a trade for somebody with Time Lord's injury history, right? And that's where those talk. And now, like with both of these situations, they could always circle back, and they could always advance that conversation. Miami could come off of their stance on a first rounder,
especially Portland, these days where it's just things happen in like a second because everyone's books are more open than they're ever going to be at any other time of year.
Right. And so like at any point, those conversations could pick back up and they could become more productive and stuff like that. But as it stands right now, that's where the Miami conversation kind of stalled out. And this is also where the Portland conversation kind of stalled out. And it does make me kind of wonder if LeBron caught wind of some of these conversations and where they kind of bumped on, and is like, we're doing this again with Dalton Connect. He couldn't even play in the playoffs. He played 0 minutes for us, basically no productive minutes in the playoffs. What are we doing here? Go get me my center. Go get Luka his center. You know, because if you entered next season, and I look, trading Dalton, not trading whatever, but it's like if you go into next season and your center rotation is Robert Williams for the 30 healthy games that he plays next year, and like say
a compelling case,
and say whoa, James Harden, $81.5 million deal with the Clippers. Okay. But the
Jam takes that one off the market. That was the guy I was hoping to go for.
That was one of the discount guys.
That was my top mid-level target.
Yeah, but like if you, because essentially like there's a lot of whispers out there that like seems like Brook Lopez probably going to be the guy that the Lakers get with their mid-level exception. So with Lopez as your backup, Time Lord as your starting center, maybe you do, if you have enough left over, make the Wiggins trade, and you could go into next season with a team that I think is closer to championship contention than it is right now.
And
like,
at the very least, a team LeBron would be happier about, because
yeah,
you're going all in.
And like if you're LeBron, and again, they mentioned the number of years that they have been partnered with the Lakers. You're going on a decade of this, and specifically over the second half of that tenure with the Lakers, you've been hearing off season out and off season in, off season out, off season in. Every single summer, it's like, yeah, we could do this, but we could do this, but we could do this, but and I actually I find it weird that Lakers fans are sitting here annoyed at LeBron for basically being like, no, don't pull that same shit again. Let us enter a season with a serious roster that is not so clearly needing a specific tweak that everybody knows about. Let's actually have a training camp where we can build on something going into next season. Not
Rob made the Russ trade and is like, I'm never making an out of season deal again. It's only in season from here on out.
Right. Which is like how none of the smart GMs operate. It should be pointed out. But like if you're LeBron and you're hearing some of the same stuff, if I'm privy to this information, he is. So if he's hearing the same stuff and he's like, you know what, man, enough. Either actually do the stuff that you need to do to make a legitimate contender with me and Luka on the same team, or send me somewhere who will. And by the way, like you just mentioned, he'd be doing them a bit of a solid if he did get
I was going to say, I still just feel like this is honestly the best case scenario for both sides.
I think
because
so
I think that you get to guide the Lakers. They can guide LeBron. They can work with LeBron. As Rich Paul's statements imply, that it seems like they are, everyone's trying to be kumbaya about this and saying, hey, we're all on the same page. We're all working together. This is a partnership. We're going to make it happen and get a win-win for both sides. And, again, like LeBron is incentivized to work with the Lakers because they ultimately can decide to just not trade him. And so he has to be reasonable with like, hey, here's where I would like to go that can actually acquire me, that has interest, whatever. And he has some leverage in that, the Lakers can't demand the farm for him because he can just say like, well, no, I'm not approving that trade because then you're leaving me with like nothing when I get there. But he doesn't have so much leverage that like, he has to be reasonable and say like, okay, this team is going to have to give up something for me. But, this allows the Lakers to get something back on the way out. And I'm sort of doing them a solid as I leave. And so I again, this is better than him just retiring and coming off the books. And if he feels like, and I struggle to see the path that even if this is just pressure on the front office to make the team better right now, I struggle to see the path to make the team a true contender, given sort of the restrictions that they have around them, with both like his salary and then like them not wanting to trade Austin. And so it's like, what are you doing then in free agency and on the trade market that is going to actually make this team a contender? And what Austin trade realistically makes the team a contender? Like, I don't necessarily see the path with LeBron on the roster. And so I would understand if he wants to go somewhere that is ready to go win with him right now, where he is the final piece and the Lakers can retool around Luka and try to be competitive as they can be next year while getting assets back for LeBron and then really taking their swing next summer.
Yeah, it also just kind of depends on the kind of trade. I was also thinking about this too, Harrison, because, we have the Lakers have always been very dogmatic. Like they'll do this thing where they see a year where it looks like they're going to have a bunch of cap flexibility, and then they'll just be like, we are not messing with that. Right. And I think we're starting to see some of that with Dorian also.
Yeah.
And it made me kind of wonder if the Lakers, kind of sort of said, hey, aren't you, what's going on here? We really want to have, max cap space in a couple of years. But I was looking at at the names that you're talking about could be free agents in a couple of years. And it's not that great. You know, it's I'm looking at the best
Well,
players.
free agents isn't how these moves are made, though. They want to be as flexible as they can so that they can take in a star and have as many draft picks to send out as possible to
Could be.
pair a star with Luka. The way Rob builds rosters is usually very like it's like a kid playing with like Duplo blocks. It's like, okay, well, I need to put my 2 pieces down here, and then I can start working on the next piece, and then I can start working on the next piece. And it's like, there's not a whole lot of like, hey, we're going to build this on the fly. It's like, okay, well, all right, so I have LeBron in place, so I need to keep my books completely clear so that we can go and try to trade for a second star. Okay, we got AD, now we can build on top of them. And it's like, okay, we got, oh no, okay, the whole thing came crashing down. Okay, well, we have LeBron and AD, and once they're gone, then we can put in a real base. And it's just like, it's very sort of like step by step. And so I think that it's like, we don't want to commit ourselves. He's like a guy on dating apps or whatever, and it's like, I don't really want to commit to anything like until he finds sort of that superstar. I didn't really figure out how to land that plane. I apologize.
Well, like, no, it's I see where you're going with it. I see where you were trying to build it, and it was just kind of stumbling out. But like,
I should have done the Rob method of 1 + 1 + 1 + 1.
Yeah, but I don't know. We've always grown up. How long did you and I like just laugh at the idea of when things not going very well? Jeannie like asks Rob, "Hey, what's going on? How do you feel about it?" Remember before it was like, Bradley Beal, anybody? Like before, not now, but like back in the day, we like
you got to put a trigger warning on that. You're gonna have people like crash their cars.
But like his we're
trading LeBron for who? And they drive off.
Knock over the blocks. Knock over.
Do you think I want somebody to report that Bradley Beal would be willing to waive his no trade clause for a Lakers, team up with Luka Doncic, like if LeBron wanted to come to the Valley?
Yeah. But like essentially, like it would be that's like the next step of the bit. Bradley Beal is the funniest person.
He just starts he starts leaking that like completely unrealistic trade destinations. He's like, well, like I would waive it to go join the Warriors and team up with Steph in the backcourt.
Yeah, like the tweets that are guaranteed to get a laugh out of me are from that like PHNX account. And it's always like Bradley Beal looking all like smug or angry with his arms crossed. And it's like, report, Bradley Beal won't turn down his no trade clause.
Yeah.
Or like Bradley Beal likes it in Phoenix. And it's always Bradley like,
yeah, he loves it. He loves it in Phoenix,
You can just tell like the poor admin who's sending that tweet is just sitting there like, but anyway, I guess like I go back to the way that you and I used to joke that Rob would remain employed before, which was,
jingling the star key.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, here's, man, things.
Like, hey, Giannis could be a free agent 2028.
Yeah.
Gotta keep the books clear.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of what they were doing here. Like, I feel like that's kind of how they're treating 26, where it's like, hey, you just never know if Giannis goes through another season where he's not happy in Milwaukee.
There's a mystery box in 2026. We could even get a player as good as LeBron.
Yeah, or like it's like, did you see that Denver's owner was out there talking about trading Jokic? Huh? And I feel like with 26, like with this money that he wants to keep open in 26, like maybe, you can maybe like accomplish something there, but you also have an opportunity in front of you. And that's what I think, like this front office is probably, has worn out its patience with LeBron, because it's like they're always so focused on the next star, the next opportunity, and they don't stop to actually maximize the one that they had in front of them. Because I don't think they accomplished enough during the LeBron AD era. Like I think part of the reason that they didn't was because they, after the Russ trade happened, they just kind of convinced themselves that those guys aren't championship caliber. And it kind of felt like it was a possibility, and I wondered this at the time. They get eliminated in the first round of these last playoffs. Are they saying the same thing about Luka and LeBron? Well, is that not a championship duo?
We got to wait for the old man to retire, and then we can build around Luka.
Right. Meanwhile, LeBron is coming off of a better season than. Luka
by the way,
I
should be employed for this whole time. Like I should get to be employed for the next 2 years, and then I'll make.
Thank you for the extension.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. This whole situation is going to be interesting, and I think one of the next kind of shoes to drop is the league's reaction to this, where what teams start positioning themselves to trade for LeBron. Whether it's New York, whether it's Dallas, there's been some stuff about Dallas potentially. Whether it's the Clippers, whether it's
you think the Lakers could get Cooper Flag for LeBron?
I told everybody on draft night.
Do you think
somebody hand Cooper?
Do you think the Mavs owner already had to reject that trade proposal from Nico? Nico's like, okay, but if I go to Rob and I offer him,
no, I want to I really, really wanted to see the report the Lakers are working out Cooper Flag just to see what the reaction would be. That they're bringing Cooper Flag in for a workout / conversation with Luka Doncic about what kind of shit show the Dallas Mavericks are under the Adelsons, whatever they are. There's some potential there. There's some people kind of linking the Lakers and Dallas there, which would be funny. There obviously it's like a natural thing to want to link Cleveland into these talks too, but they're above the second apron and they can't aggregate salary, so that makes trading for somebody making $53 million really, really difficult, if not impossible. So we'll see what comes out of that. But
they have players that they could move that teams would want. If they wanted to make it happen, they could make it happen.
I just don't. There's not very many cap space teams out there, and now all of a sudden,
everyone was saying it was going to be impossible for the Celtics to cut payroll, and they moved guys and got
they did it early.
Picks
they did it early when teams had more cap space.
Sure, but I think that there's enough guys on Cleveland's roster that if they wanted to move in order to free up a room for this, teams would take them.
Well, here's the other, we gotta mention this as something that gets taken into account. Are you going to just dump rotation players and then trade, whatever you need to trade for LeBron, which now means that you essentially traded half your rotation for this guy in one way or another, and he's only going to play for a year or two. Meanwhile, you just won 60 something games last year. Is that the thing that makes the most sense? So, maybe Cleveland gets involved. We'll see. But the reason I mention all of this is because I think that the next shoe to drop here, when, Wendy's podcast or Zach Lowe's podcast or, these more informed podcasts drop, is all right, which teams are going to start moving, maybe not heaven and earth, but one of the other, to try to position themselves to be able to trade for LeBron. And at what point do the Lakers allow LeBron to go out there and talk to teams that he would waive his no trade clause for, if the Lakers don't have the offseason?
No way that's happening already.
Look, from what I've been able to gather, this took the league kind of by surprise. LeBron so openly saying, after years of I'm going to retire a Laker, I want to retire a Laker, all of that stuff. He's been saying that for years, and then for him to have this about face so quickly, it seems like it kind of surprised a bunch of the league. So I think we are going to see the next wave of updates on this story, probably very soon. To your point, you're probably right that this work is probably already taking place. But I'm saying that's a wave that needs to crash for it to actually get those updates.
Who is your favorite hypothetical trade target if they are moving among the teams, if they are moving $50 million of LeBron?
Probably
You
New
excited
York.
about Karl Anthony Towns?
No, I don't want Cat. Let's be clear.
He's only making like $60 million like the next like 3 years, you know, each.
I thought Cat was like unfairly like
no, he was the only reason they were even in that series against the Pacers.
What's the word that I'm thinking of?
Maligned, criticized.
No, like the scapegoated. I thought he was unfairly scapegoated from that situation where like he won them a game all by himself. Brunson looked pretty bad in that series. Mikal Bridges was a non-factor.
It's like the tiny guards. People can never blame them. They're like, it's the Kyrie thing in the finals where Luka took all the blame because they're like, well, you're an actually good player. Like, you shouldn't be getting locked up like this. Like, Jalen Brunson, he's just a little guy. Like, what do you want him to do?
Yeah. So, I think I like New York. If the Lakers could get one or two of those wings from New York, I don't want Cat. Maybe you send if you're going to do the Cat thing, maybe send him to a third team and get a center who actually fits with Luka, because I don't think Cat fits with Luka in any real way. He's not.
I love that they're only getting connected to guys who are not lob threats.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
See, you're looking at Cat. You're like, seems like the perfect center for Luka. No, they'd probably be really good together offensively. Just he
doesn't protect the rim. He does space the floor, so that's going to help a little bit. But he's not good at like a rim roller or rim runner or anything of those things. So he's a super talented player. I just don't think he's like a 2025 modern center who you want next to Luka. But yeah, New York is kind of interesting. If you could get like Bridges, I'd be interested in Bridges. There were some people saying they could maybe get OG and Anunoby. I don't think they would be able to get OG and Anunoby. But yeah, Bridges would be interesting. Guys would be
incredible next to Luka.
What's that?
Either of those guys would be incredible next to Luka.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A funny one would be sending LeBron to Boston for Jaylen Brown. That would make me chuckle, but I don't think he would waive his no trade clause for that one.
Yeah, you don't think he's waiving his no trade clause to number 1 go to Boston, number 2 go to Boston during a gap year.
Awesome. Probably correct. People keep saying Golden State. They don't have anything to like unless you want to trade for Jimmy Butler. I'm not really interested in Jimmy Butler. I have this like piece of dust that is stuck on my nose that is just driving me insane. But yeah, let's move on to Dorian Finney-Smith.
Michael Porter Jr. You excited about MPJ Jamal Murray for LeBron?
No, I think he's the next after Beasley to get caught like throwing James.
Hold on now. Come on, you're gonna get sued. That's just because his brother did it. Like
he just seems the type. All right, the let's talk about I'm sorry, everybody. It's this like I have a dog and her hair gets everywhere right now. But yeah, let's talk about Dorian Finney-Smith and his opt out. I think also is a pretty big. So essentially, and I talked about this earlier in the offseason, that if he opts out and walks, it makes you it gives you the opportunity to sign somebody using your full mid-level exception. I know a lot of people like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So it basically becomes, would you rather have Dorian Finney-Smith and Brook Lopez or Nickeil Alexander-Walker? And I'm curious what you would prefer there.
I think I would actually, even though I'm underwhelmed by Lopez, I think I would actually prefer that scenario. Oh, and we lost Anthony. So
No, you didn't. I'm still here. you're just
spotlighting me.
Yeah, no.
As you could tell, I'm a pro at this. I would say I would go with the Lopez DFS option, just because I think Na is a guy who's going to get a little overpaid, and I'm not sure that I want to be the team to do that. Although he probably would be a solid fit with Luka.
My problem with Na is he wasn't that good in the post. I've seen him in a couple of postseasons just forget how to shoot, and he's a really good defender and he's a really good scorer on multiple levels.
Yeah, he's like a great 8th or 9th man. You know,
he kept on. He like for some reason in that Wolves series, he was like the only guy who wasn't making the open threes that he was getting, and that really stood out to me. So, yeah, that's somebody who I like his game, and I could see with a vision there, but I would also rather have Dorian and
I just feel like you could get like theoretically you could get Bruce Brown for like a third of the price and get the same thing.
Yeah. Well, but you're not getting Bruce Brown. Like I just think the taxpayer mid level is going to Brook Lopez. Like I just think that's how this is probably playing out. So if it could have been Bruce Brown, yeah, but I just don't think that's how that's
I mean, you know better than me.
I don't know. I've always thought that Dorian would opt out and then sign like a 3-year, $36 million or 3-year, $39 million deal. I saw Bobby Portis got $44 million. I bet Dorian probably thinks he deserves that.
Oh, Bobby Portis just resigned. Okay, I was not on Twitter. I did not see that.
Yeah, so according to Shams, he intends to sign a 3-year, $44 million contract. 44 divided by 3 is what? Like, man, that seems kind of high for Portis, right?
It's above the mid-level.
It was 14.6 mil. So it's like right at the mid-level. That's probably the expectation there from Dorian in his camp. I swear I probably look like a cocaine addict.
The reason
I'm
that
just sitting here just rubbing my nose.
People are telling you to pick it, which I think they have to send a super.
It's not that. Like it's not. If it was that, I would tell you it was that. But I'm telling you, I could feel this hair like moving in my nose.
I was just going to say the other reason that I prefer the DFS Lopez thing is not, it's less to do with Lopez and it's more just like, I like DFS. I would like to keep DFS. And I don't think that like losing is really worth losing him, especially for, one of your commenters mentioned it, but the factor of like having him keeps Luka happy as well in that they are close friends.
Yeah. That's another big factor here. And I think that's eventually why Dorian will remain a Laker is because of his relationship with Luka and like, look, you can't have LeBron soft launch a trade request and then also immediately lose one of your good wings.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of a tough look. Like imagine that's Luka's
you're losing like your 2 best defenders arguably from last season.
Well, and that's Luka's first
on a bad defensive
when
team.
You're trying to convince Luka to sign a long-term extension and his first like taste of what it's like being a Laker, his first offseason as a Laker, as he loses all of this weight, he's like, wait, I'm not drinking beer for what? I'm coming back to what? Like he would be so pissed.
Yeah, Rob is going to be like, Luka, back in 2005, I remember Kobe being in the best shape of his life. And, it's just leading nowhere because there was a gap here for the Lakers. But we think you could do that too.
Yeah. Look, we will let you shoot 40 times a game.
Yeah.
You can set the scoring.
You want to go for 83? You could do that here.
No, I think they would sub him out when he got to 80. Like... just based
Rob
on
calls in a security threat to the offices. He's like,
just
evacuate Staples.
Just based on their treatment of LeBron when he got to the number of championships that he got to, I seem to think that
I don't know, because Luka Rob can claim credit for in a way that he could not with LeBron. LeBron was very open. I came here to team up with Magic and whatever. Like it was not about Rob Pelinka. Rob acquired Luka, so he can take credit for that win. So there may be a little less of that.
Yeah. Does the prospect of them signing Lopez kind of surprise you? I think it's such
a little, just because, not really, because it's a very Rob move. He's a former Laker. He's a guy Rob got criticized for letting go. He is like somebody that you would have wanted the team to sign like 5 years ago, or even like 2 years ago. Yeah. And so it does fit into the archetype of free agents that they target.
It's like so unbranded.
I'm surprised in the sense that it's a bad fit, but I'm not surprised for all the other reasons that I mentioned. Like it's again, Luka's like, get me a lob threat, and they're like, you got it, Brook Lopez.
I'm surprised in the sense that like Lopez would go back to the Lakers. Like the difference between the mid-level exception.
Money talks, and Disneyland nearby screams. So,
I guess Disneyland might help. But yeah, I just feel like, he's going to make the mid-level. It's like 5.6.
Yeah.
It's 5.6 compared to, because he's been in the league for a long time. So his veteran minimum contract would be like 3 something, $2 million. Like that's when he's already made as much money as he has. Like given how much he hated being a Laker the first time around, really surprised me.
He's from Southern California. You never know what the family considerations are if he just wants to be back home closer to some. I don't know if he still has family here or if they live here or whatever, but like that you always have to remember like that could be a factor as well.
This is a good image.
No, yeah. See, this is what we were talking about 2 weeks ago. It's like it's the tiny table pick.
There's simpatico over their Disneyland fandom.
Yeah. Rob's like, Brook, and if you come here, this is not legal on the cap, but I do have 4 guest days on my annual pass.
Yeah.
So I will throw those in. I will bring you with me. As long as you don't tell Adam Silver. Disney secrets.
I think that the plan, based on the Lopez information, based on that, like I think the plan is essentially for Lopez to be their backup, and then they're going to trade for their starter. So of the bigs, like I think
Does
DeAndre
Lopez
Ayton is,
know that?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. But I hope so.
I'm just saying, like, we don't want another Andre Drummond promise situation here. So,
yeah, I don't think they do promises anymore. I don't think they do but
it's very on brand for Rob, given how I just described him earlier in the episode.
Yeah,
like the promise thing,
Yeah, or maybe he promised him and he's like, psych. But let's see your.
I've made one commitment in my life, and it's to my wife, and that's it. I don't commit to anything else.
Well, but the if I basically gave you names of centers the Lakers could trade for, tell me which one you would prefer most. DeAndre Ayton, Yusuf Nurkic, who is probably very available in Utah now.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Let's see. DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, Yusuf Nurkic, Nick Richards, Nick Claxton. We'll say those 5. Who would you prefer? Prices taken into account here.
Yeah. I mean, of those names, honestly, maybe Nick Richards, just because it costs you nothing, and I'm not sure that you're getting that much less than you're getting for outside of Claxton. Obviously, is like a way better player than him. But I don't know. Like Claxton, I just don't like because number one, I don't think you're still going to have the same bulk problem in the front court that you had with AD. It's like but worse because he's not AD. And so you're still going to have to get sort of that bulkier center probably at some point. And you're also paying him a good amount of money already. And like, he's not like that perfect of a fit with Luka. Again, it's like the sort of slight, guy.
Yeah. Like given everything that you have to give up for Claxton, he's not the fit with Luka you would like, or like he doesn't solve as many problems as you would like for him to cost as much as he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So thoughts on Time Lord then? If the cost on Time Lord was like Gabe and Shake and a second rounder or something like that.
If it's Gabe and Shake in a second rounder, I'm doing that just because Gabe is superfluous, I think. And, if it's just a second round pick, I don't care that much. The Lakers, you can buy those if you would like. I don't care that much about that, especially with new, like even more rich ownership coming in. The Lakers, even under the cheap ownership, always bought seconds. Like I'm not worried about Mark Walter buying seconds. So I would do that just because, hey, you take the gamble on his health. It probably doesn't work out, but it's at least a compelling option that you can go to Luka with and say, look, like we think that this guy has just had some bad luck, but this is the perfect lob center for you. And, you're going to love playing with him. And he is a perfect on paper fit next to Luka. And so, I would do that deal. I'm just not giving up a first for him, given his health history, or even a swap,
no.
because I think
God,
you have to save up your swaps for the next star offer that you're going to make. And so if it's a second, I would honestly maybe even include Connect, but I would not go any like higher than that.
Yeah, I would probably, like, given the price, and like if the
I don't
Lakers
even think I would give up
included,
Rui for him, just because I don't think that you can count on him to play basketball games. I'm not giving up rotation players that I think are meaningful for him.
yeah, if I was to give up like Connect, I would want assets back. Like I would want picks back, you know. And maybe that's where this winds up going is Portland gives up a couple second rounders as well as Time Lord to get Connect and Gabe, you know, or something like that. And that way you could use those second rounders eventually, like those second rounders and Maxi, to get the help you might need if Time Lord gets hurt, which is a thing that happens really often. Yeah, Nick Richards is an interesting, like, extreme buy low candidate.
Yeah.
To
be clear, I don't think he's that great. I just am not overwhelmed by any of the other options that you're presenting me. And so for the minimum, I'd rather just do that and not lose an asset.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at what his contract
like
situation
Danny Ainge is going to demand a first for Yusuf Nurkic from the Lakers. He's going to be I can't send him to you guys because he's going to make our 2027 pick worse. And it's like, well, is he? I don't know.
He's on the books for next year for $5 million.
Who?
Nick Richards is.
Oh yeah, but the Suns are looking to like cut salary, and like they already have a center logjam, and so they would probably just give him away.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that, like, it ideally, like, if he was available for the minimum, I'd say, like, yeah, sure, cool. But yeah, I mean, he's another big guy who can get up above the rim and stuff a little bit. But the fact that, like, he was so bad, it was a pretty bad situation there in Phoenix when he got there.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to judge anyone in Phoenix, really.
Yeah, they didn't have anybody who could facilitate for him, really.
Except Devin Booker, loser. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I didn't correct you. Jake Fisher just reporting the Houston Rockets have emerged as a viable free agent landing spot for Dorian Finney-Smith.
Do they have money to give him?
Yeah, I think their books are pretty clean. They have a lot of, like,
I just assumed with the big Adams extension plus KD and everything, I just assumed they were probably capped out.
Houston Rockets cap sheet. Yeah,
comments are saying they have the full MLE. I don't know Houston's books. Yeah. So, hey,
well, because they basically they have their expensive guys, but then they don't have any bad money off, like, other than that. Any whatsoever.
He honestly would be a great fit for them. Again, if I'm the Lakers, I'm not excited about losing him. That sucks, and I don't think that that's a good thing. Like, I understand why the Rockets would go for him, but the Lakers, I think, should maybe be trying a little harder than they are to keep him.
Well, I don't think it's that they aren't trying hard to keep him. It's like, so I think they're trying to enter the season under the first apron, or like stay close to it. And
if you're offering him less than another team is offering him, you're not trying that hard to keep him. He hasn't made that much money to where I'm going to criticize him for just taking the bag, especially not from Houston, where it's meaningfully way more because he has no state income tax.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it would be, $15 million there would be it would be worth another few million. Compared to,
compared to, even if the Lakers give him the same offer, he's going to lose what?
That's what I mean.
I don't know what the tax rate is for Dorian Finney-Smith's bracket. It's higher than mine, I assume.
I mean, I would hope so, unless Vox is really ponying up.
They made a horrible mistake. I am making $37 million a year. I don't think they watch the show, so I can admit it. I think it's a rounding error, but I'm not giving that money back.
Yeah, somebody saying I'll trust you on this 15% difference. I would say that sounds about right. Yeah, that's a good point. They could lose Dorian for the same number in Texas, taking taxes into account. I still though think, look, I wouldn't go above 15 for Dorian.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I don't think he deserves a raise coming off of.
I think it's a defensible loss. It's just one that I wish was not occurring, because I do think that he helps next year's roster, and I think it helps keep Luka happy. And like, there's a lot of reasons to keep him, but I also do understand the Lakers not being like, we want to give you 60 million, like over 3 years. I don't even know if they're allowed to do that. I think they are, but I'm just saying hypothetically.
Yeah, if they lose Dorian, they have to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah.
Like, I would give the whole thing. I would tell him he's your starting shooting guard or small forward if you want to consider it. Rui comes off of the bench, and in that way, because then, like we talked about earlier, now you're approaching Luka and saying, hey, sorry.
Hey, so your best friend just had to go get the bag from someone else, and your idol just demanded a trade. Would you like to resign with us for the most money possible?
We have Brook Lopez, who doesn't catch lobs either.
He's like, you said you wanted a tall center. We hear you, Brook. Jump out from the closet.
Yeah.
Brook jumps out in the Mickey ears. He's like, hey, Luka, hope you're excited to go on the teacups with me and Rob.
Yeah. It's that would be tough. That would be really difficult. And by the way, I'm not laughing because I find it's like me laughing before the train hits me.
We are laughing.
It's like that's just that's my neutral setting is laughing at the
maniacally as we get
pushed
off the building. It's
like, I wouldn't have thought it was you. Thought for sure it would have been Jen. All right, I think that's gonna do it here. And I'm gonna try to
give you one last thing before you actually wrap it up.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who Dalton Connect's agent is?
No, but I found out he's a communications major the other day, and that made me laugh out loud.
That's mean. And I will say it is an easy degree to get. As somebody who has a communications degree. Teammates with I was classmates with a lot of Dalton Connects. It's he has the same agent as Jokic.
Meaning great shooters, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
He has the same agent as Jokic?
Yeah.
Oh, he's never getting traded. Never. No wonder they won't include him in the Rob Williams trade.
It makes me laugh. I found this out over the weekend, but it makes me laugh because it's all the stuff from last year of how do you think Dalton Connect was feeling about the trade and the rescindment and the awkwardness? And it's what do you think they're telling Jokic down the line when his owner's trying to trade him?
Yeah. I guess it's true that I can't say he's never getting traded when he got traded. What if they went to Dalton and was like, hey, we never actually wanted to trade you. We were going to rescind that trade the whole time.
Yeah. They just go to Dalton. They're like, we were just trying to trick Luka. No. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. Okay.
Yeah. Don't tell Adam Silver.
Between us,
don't tweet it.
And this El Pollo Loco quesadilla. It's.
Yeah, I would say. Is it weird that I don't even envision Jokic having an agent?
How much do you need one when you're Jokic?
I've always wondered why players at that.
He's like, I would like the most money, please. And they're like, here you go.
Yeah. Well, but that's what I mean. It's I've never quite understood. Well,
that's why Shea just fired his agent before his contract extension.
But I've always wondered, at that caliber of player, when you get that, you're
James
not
Harden
negotiating
famously
anymore.
Did not keep an agent for a long time because he's like, Daryl just gives me whatever I want. Why would I keep an agent? And then he found out why you would have an agent.
Yeah, well, because then it does make the decline that much more difficult. But still, it's an interesting thing. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please, there are 5,000 of you in here watching right now, and I'm expecting 5,000 likes. Even if a big bulk of that number is Twitter bots, I find a way to do it. Twitter bots. And yeah, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that share button. Let us all know stuff. Harrison, anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
Yeah, no, the person calling me a broke person making fun of a millionaire in the comments.
He just said he makes $37 million a year.
Yeah, no, I take exception to that because I got a degree from the Stanford of Southern California and Cal State Fullerton, and I'm not broke, okay? You can't see it. I mean, look at all these things I have behind me. I clearly own many pieces of property. I take exception to that.
I own plenty. Look at the stuff.
Would a broke person have that fedora on display behind them? I'm just saying, it's
how much of that is swag?
Actually, a lot of it is free stuff.
On that note, perfect exit.
Not because I'm broke.
I'm going to edit this and put it up on the RSS feed right away because of how quickly information moves nowadays. I plan on doing emergency podcasts. I plan on doing emergency lowdown, stuff like that. So the best way to make sure that you don't miss any of it is to hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your pods, and to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, or if you're on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge. That's Odyssey is the logo right there.
I think the subscribe button's down there.
Right? Oh yeah, it's like in this little region.
It's like somewhere
over yonder.
You can find it. Just look below where my hand is. You'll find
it's right there. So yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Oh, my son's awake.
Bye, everyone.